Yo, what up? Quick little review. It's gotta be quick, it's gotta be fast, it's gotta be furious. Whatever. This one will be for the new 6 Feet Under album called Undead. Now, 6 Feet Under are headed by the former Cannibal Corpse vocalist Chris Barnes. They're basically a band that death metal fans either love or hate. Love for their kind of old school approach to death metal where it's not constant blasting or really technical riffing, or hate because the music's very repetitive and Chris Barnes sounds just, kind of going through the emotions. Now they formed back in around the mid 1990s, like 94, and came out with Haunted. I personally love Haunted and everything up to Maximum Violence. Then after that, everything's been downhill. 13 was alright, but then like albums like Condemn and what the fuck was it? Death Rituals are absolute garbage, and so were the cover albums they do. The first few are okay, but their newest album, right from the get-go, when I reviewed their newer song called Formaldehyde from its upcoming release, I was really actually excited about this release because they sounded revigorated. A couple of members left, the bassist left, and so did the guitarist. The Chimera guitarist that they were touring with became full-time, and he's on the record as well, along with their new bassist, who is formerly of Brain Drill, and their drummer, who's worked with the likes of Dying Fetus and Misery Index. And this album from the get-go hits you with just fucking intensity. From the minute Frozen at the Moment of Death plays, you just hear this awesome mix of double bass. The riffing is much more complicated in this album. Not like over the top, but in their form, it's more. There's more soloing, a few little interesting little things passed on. From the moment after the moment of death, at the moment of Frozen at the moment of death. There we go. There's this ultra fast riffing. The drums are fucking insane. I like their old drummer, but this one's just much more technical and interesting to listen to. Barnes sounds very good on this release. His vocals are finally back to that ultra low guttural kind of sense that you see on like the last few Cannibal Corpse albums he was on, and just everything flows together really perfectly on the track. Now the next one is Formaldehyde, their first song that we got to see off this that really kind of piqued my interest. Just another awesome song of pure speed, ultra like tremolo picked riffing, and some really great drums. The drums are one of the high points of this album. Then we get to the slower songs. This is still a groove-laden death metal album, and the first one up is the first official like single or something like that, 18 Days. Now, one of my major gripes with this album are the lyrics. Barnes has never been actually kind of a true connoisseur of lyrics. He's more intent to write gore and a couple of political songs about weed and the government. This song perfectly shows where he falls flat on his lyricalism. I mean, just look at the lyrics. Go ahead, pause the video, look them up right now. But other than his terrible lyrics, his delivery of them is actually pretty good. In fact, throughout this whole album, he has a very strong delivery. Another thing I've also noticed, this is one of the first tracks, the other one kind of being like Vampire Apocalypse, and the last track, Depravity something, where there's a little bit of a darker atmosphere around the songs. 18 Days is perfect, like when he starts to use his higher kind of like high growls, I guess you could call them. There's the guitar riffs playing in the back, and it just gives you like an eerie feeling to it, like you check over your shoulder, and that's something that I really liked about this album. There were, of course, a few downfalls, mostly repetition. Not repetition, but repetitiveness. This is kind of like from the hard old school death metal with some new touches to their sound, like the faster guitar riffs and better drum work and whatnot. But we still have a lot of slow songs on here, like Molested Dead, and 18 Days would be another example. Also, Missing Victim. Now, these aren't bad. These are actually a little bit faster. Usually they're like, when they do a slow song, it's like very low pace. These are like a mid to high pace, and they're not as slow, and they really give a nice little heaviness to them. The riffing, as far as the slow songs are really good. The grooves and the guitars are there, and some of the pull-offs and hammer-ons that are added to it that help mix up the whole package. But it almost seems like after the first two songs that it's completely different. 6 Feet Under, like their old school sound instead of this new school. But you get like a nice mix of what their newer stuff is going for and what their old stuff is within some of these songs. Like Vampire Apocalypse, great song, slow but at the same time fresh with the atmosphere and some of the better guitar work. And the last track, Descend, which just beautifully ties off the album. It's a very short album, it's only like 40 minutes, but in that same 40 minutes I felt like I heard something fresh, but at the same time something very familiar. This is probably the best stuff they've done since like 13 or Maximum Violence. And despite the scratches such as repetitiveness and Barnes' over-the-top lyrics, I did enjoy it. I thought it was something that I would turn on once in a while and still be able to enjoy. So if I had to give it like a rating, maybe like a 7.25 or something like that, like a 7. Either way, pretty decent album. I was surprised about how much I actually enjoyed it. You guys really should check it out. Support the band, support Barnes and his project. Subscribe and comment. Peace.